Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just following up on the gentleman's statement, I share his situation, which is if DOE had said, look, we'll give you X amount of additional money, but you can't pay back your own associated parent company, you'd have still taken the money. Bottom line is money flowed to a loan prepayment to yourself effectively as part of it, something that is, as I understand it, is prohibited by DOE, but I'm not going to ask you if it's prohibited for DOE to do it, because they obviously did it, as they did so many things that were wrong in the case of these loan guarantees. Mr. Ulan, I just want to make sure the record's clear. When I asked about, your strong support for Senator Reid, and obviously we went over these letters earlier that show that there was direct political influence with the Chief of Staff and the President, I wasn't implying there's anything wrong in these contributions. I mean, ultimately, most of the energy companies, including all the public utilities in California, have historically supported me. It's not the money. It's just I wanted to make it clear that Senator Reid was very important to you, as he obviously was to Mr. Ferencz. I want to go back, though, to Mr. Ahearn. I want to make sure I get your statement correct. That's why I asked to go first this round. You said that you had multiple studies, but isn't it true that by your own PowerPoint, which we have, when it says risk, we are almost completely reliant on Vasilius and his team? That's what that is multiple studies done by one person. Isn't that true? I mean, basically, your support for your risk, which is our research ultimately proves, if it proves unpersuasive, essentially this carcinogen incorporated, and you say not a risk, you had to convince the Commission, and his multiple studies were a big part of how you convinced them. And a risk was you wouldn't be selling in Europe if his studies, which you did pay for, hadn't helped bolster your case. Now, isn't that a more accurate statement rather than you're saying that there were multiple studies and you didn't remember if you paid for it? You did pay this organization. You relied heavily on it. It's in your own PowerPoint statement. Isn't that true?
I respectfully, I need to break that down.
Okay.
I don't think that's true, no.
Did Vasilius receive money from your company for any or all of these studies?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Were you heavily, almost completely reliant on his studies?
I would say no.
Okay. You say no. So the fact that your own PowerPoint shows that as a risk?
I don't know the context, of this slide or where it was made. I mean, I'm happy.
Well, it was made by you folks and delivered under our discovery.
But I just don't know the period of time or what that was prepared.
Oh, I apologize. We got it from a whistleblower. You didn't give it to us.
Okay.
But are you saying that you don't believe it's yours?
No, not at all. I'm just saying I can't, that particular quote, without the context, I'm not sure what it means. But I would be happy to give you more
We'd be happy to get more of these in discovery, since we had to get this from a whistleblower who basically says, look, you were reliant completely on this individual. The whistleblower informs us that you did pay, so we'd look forward to getting that right. And what we're seeing is you needed this to work to get into European Union, and you needed the money to be where you are today. I'm going to ask one question, because I've been waiting to ask this for a long time, ever since they berated General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler when they came in. What kind of jet did you fly in on today?
Oh, I flew in yesterday.
Yesterday.
On a Challenger.
A Challenger, 604, 605?
300.
300. Oh, one of the new super minis. So it's pretty efficient. That was a nonstop flight from, I assume, Tempe, or?
Yes. Okay.
I just think that if you're so concerned about, and I know it's more efficient than the big birds, but is that really environmentally sensitive?
Well, and let me point out that has nothing. First Solar did not pay for that. First Solar had nothing to do with
okay,
that.
well,
that's something I did on my own. And
oh yeah, we're not going to ask him if he used the money he took out of the company. Staff has always got better questions than I would. I wouldn't ask that. Let me just ask one more question. Your production facilities, do they use your solar panels for the energy that they produce in order to manufacture?
Not for the end. Not probably.
Okay.
Wouldn't be for some of it,
is it true you looked at California and made a decision not to come into California because of two major factors, the regulatory environment and the cost of energy?
I don't know that that's the case. I think we looked at a number of places and,
You ruled out California, the very place that has the mandates that help many of your companies succeed, because we mandate that we buy your much higher, much subsidized cost. It drives up the ratepayer cost dramatically and makes manufacturing in California undesirable. So you decided not to manufacture in a high-cost area. You're basically, I see you're in Ohio, which is a low-cost energy area. You're in Tempe, Arizona, a low-cost energy area. They even use coal for some of their electricity. So is it fair to say that energy cost determines somewhat where, in addition to labor costs, where you manufacture?
I would say it would be one of a number of factors.
Well, what put you in Malaysia?
We wanted to have a base of manufacturing in Asia as well as Europe and North America as we were building out the company. And at the time, when we assessed the risk returns of the various Asian locations, having never done business in Asia, we thought Malaysia was a moderate risk, reasonable place to live.
Well, I'm going to close, but just noting that if these figures are still correct, Germany, 560 jobs, Ohio, 280, Malaysia, 1,680. It sounds like you're not an American company particularly. You simply have a small presence in Ohio and another one in Arizona that in fact, we put an awful lot of money into putting you into manufacturing in other countries outside America, and that in fact, the loan program dramatically made it possible for you to have overseas jobs, not to have American jobs. Is that reasonably correct, that the majority of the jobs that you provide are not in America, and that the loan program facilitated that as much as anything?
Well, I would disagree respectfully with the overall characterization.
Not the characterization, just the numbers.
In sheer numbers, most of our full-time are outside of the U.S. Okay,
so jobs created with loan guarantees, stimulus and others, basically not American.
No. All those jobs are American, and all the jobs directly created with the loan guarantee.
Okay, so those jobs wouldn't be there except for these loans, but those other jobs would be, is your assertion.
So the manufacturing, offshore would be, but the R&D, the engineering, the hub of our business is here. That's supported by those. But sheer numbers, I agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.